This video is sponsored by EA, so Launch Royale is back, and originally I was making a video showing all of the old weird things that Apex used to have, and upon recording this video, I realised one seemingly insignificant thing Respawn added in Season 4 basically made the game 10 times better. But first, let's go over the weird stuff in the new release of Launch Royale. If you're not aware, the reason I am playing the OG Apex mode with the OG legends, OG abilities, OG balancing while on new Apex maps is because basically this is Launch Royale v2, and the map rotates every 30 minutes. So it's essentially Season 1 Apex on new maps. But the first weird thing I found that I totally forgot about was that the longbow used to be heavy ammo, which is weird. I forgot the longbow released like this, and I also forgot that the wingman used to take heavy. Like when I picked it up, I was genuinely searching for sniper ammo for a while, and then I remembered. On top of this, the Spitfire is also heavy ammo as well. It's crazy how much ammo balancing Respawn have done, although the OG weapon stats are quite fun to play with, especially if you pick up the wingman, where it just has an insane fire rate. Honestly, if you have decent aim, the wingman is a must pick up. Unfortunately, I have horrible aim, so it's not long till I swap it out just to cheese with a flatline. And because obviously Apex launched with way fewer legends than it has right now, Respawn did bring back the old legend select, and we get all of the legends up to Watson. One interesting thing a lot of you new players may not realize is that this isn't actually what the old player select used to have, as the player icons used to be this shape instead of squares. So Respawn kind of worked with what they had to remake this, and it looks good, but honestly I kind of wish these little shapes came back. They're very nostalgic to me, and I used to use them in thumbnails a lot. I genuinely miss these, but I see why with the new class system and also way more legends, they kind of have to be smaller squares that fit together way easier. One thing that genuinely hurt my brain to relearn is the fact that in older Apex you used to not drop with shields, syringes, or cells, or even a backpack. So having to remember to pick up white shields, white backpacks, and also kind of load up on syringes was really hard to remember. And the amount of times at the start of the game I was literally living off 10 HP because I couldn't find any syringes kind of made me realize I really take landing with syringes and cells for granted. Also back in Season 1, Respawn were kind of feeling out the legend abilities and balancing, and many abilities in Launch Royale aren't like they are now. For example, Mirage. His ultimate now, you create a load of decoys that follow what you do, and you can create a lot of decoys if you use his upgrades. But his original ability created decoys, but they would not copy you. On top of that, Mirage's temporary invisibility that he has right now was actually the main gimmick of his ultimate, as he would go invisible for several seconds, and you could come out of the cloak whenever you wanted to, essentially giving you a stealthy escape. This was reworked to have an arguably better ultimate these days, but to be honest, these days, this ultimate just doesn't work too well with the health bar, so maybe we will see Mirage's ultimate kind of reverted back to its Season 1 form. Now invisibility has been introduced more to his kit. Also, let's be real for a moment, Bloodhound's original tactical was just bad. The scan does not follow the enemies like it does these days. Like, you probably take it for granted that when you scan an enemy, it just follows them for several seconds, but back in the day, it would just highlight where they were when you scanned and just leave like a frozen shadow of where they once were, like some Tom Clancy game. Bloodhound is definitely way better now. Also, Caustic used to have invincible barrels when they activated. Essentially, when his barrels used to activate, you could not break them. They did not take damage, which made it really convenient to block doors or be very aggressive in holding your ground. I was using him and I was having a blast. I kind of wish they reverted him back to this point, because he actually feels like an offensive and oppressive force. It feels like people are genuinely scared to push you because they know they can't just dump a mag into your gas trap and then push you. He feels like a force to be reckoned with, and it kind of makes me sad of the point Caustic is at, but also Caustic was so frustrating back in the day. I understand why he can break his traps now. On top of that, one thing that consistently caught me off is that Octane's jump pad does not have a double jump in this OG version of Apex. The amount of times I thought I glitched out because my double jump didn't work to realize Octane just didn't release with the double jump kind of made me realize how much muscle memory I put into this game. This OG Apex mode does contain a lot of removed movement though, like zipline jumping. Essentially right now as it stands, you can only jump on and off a zipline twice before having to touch the ground. But back in the day, you could just do this on unlimited amount of times. And trust me, it feels illegal to do, but it's so fun. And it's also kind of effective. I was playing with a Pathfinder who insisted on pushing towards teams with a zipline. And you know what? With this unlimited zip jump, it was kind of fun. Also, Respawn did re add punch boosting for Launch Royale, which is cool because it shows they are still thinking about it and kind of gives me hope that maybe it could come back as a legend ability one day. But yeah, punch boosting is back and it's as beautiful as the day I lost it. For tap strafing, I don't want to talk about tap strafing right now. One thing that did screw over my muscle memory a lot is I just totally forgot that at one time the choke was a separate hop up to the Peacekeeper. So when you used to aim down sights on the Peacekeeper, it basically wouldn't do anything. You would just shoot like normal, and you had to pick up the choke as a hop up for it to actually tighten its spread. Another thing I saw, which was like seeing an old friend, was the old Wraith Naruto run animation. Respawn added it back because if you're not aware, back in the day, Wraith always used to run like this until Respawn removed it and replaced the animation with this to make her hitbox a bit more consistent and a bit less small. So seeing it back in the game is so nice. Although many of you may not be aware, but this Naruto run animation is still in the game today, but it only shows when Wraith goes into the void. Although there was one thing that Respawn refused to add for the Launch Royale mode, and that's the old muzzle flashes the guns in the game used to have, as a big complaint of Apex back in the day was that the muzzle flashes were too much. You couldn't see through the own muzzle flashes of your gun when you were shooting it. So Respawn just didn't add this back because they didn't need to. Nobody wanted to see this back in the game. As nostalgic as having the center of your screen covered in fire is, nobody wants it back, and Respawn kind of did recognize this in the description of the golden barrel stabilizer in this mode, because it has the description barrel stabilizer. You really didn't think we were going to bring back the old muzzle flashes, did you? Oh yeah, obviously the gold barrel stabilizer is back also, and it can go on the R99, which doesn't happen these days. You can't put barrel stabilizers on R99s. One thing that did catch me off that I forgot was a change is that the ultimate accelerants used to be epic rarity instead of blue rarity. So I had to kind of adjust myself to pick these up off the ground because I was constantly charging my Caustic ultimate because I was aware how annoying it was to fight. Of course, there's a million more changes in Launch Royale because this is obviously a version of Apex from like 23 seasons ago, but there's one thing that I could not stand. Evo Shields didn't exist because Evo Shields were added to the game as an experiment in Season 4 and then basically added permanently because they work so well. Essentially, the reason Evo Shields are good is because they encourage you to fight to level up your shield rather than just get lucky and find a purple shield off drop, which was very, very good. But in this version of Apex, shields are just that. They're just a type of item found on the ground that only have white, blue and purple rarity, no red rarity, and the only way to get like purple shields is just get lucky and find it on the ground. Honestly, in Battle Royale, Evo Shields are a brilliant decision because it does make people push fights because they think, oh, I need to level up my shield. And now with the addition of upgrades, people want to push fights more so they can get their upgrades. I'm just going to say it, Apex was kind of bad before Evo Shields, or at least with the knowledge we have now. Still, I really love Launch Royale, and I feel like it's probably nostalgic to people who didn't even play Apex at launch. And it makes me realize I really take Evo Shields for granted. Please never remove this system.